already filmed this video once, right when I got home from seeing Kingsman, but that video is pretty rambly and kind of incoherent, so let's try this again. Hello lovely people, my name is Nicole and today I'm going to be reviewing Kingsman: The Secret Service. This movie was on my top 15 most anticipated movies of 2015, and so I am so glad I finally got to see it. Cat. I honestly didn't go in with that many expectations. I expected, you know, maybe a cool spy movie, but I didn't expect it to be mind-blowing. And it kind of was. It was pretty great. So if you don't know what this movie is about, it is about a kid who is 20-ish, and 17 years ago his father was killed on a mission with a sort of a secret agency. That he doesn't really know what it is. And then a spot opens up in that secret spy agency, and he is chosen by one of his father's colleagues to be a candidate to fill that spot. And so he is training to be a spy, and he has to help save the world. And oh my god, it was so cool. I love teenage spy stuff. I mean, I love Gallagher Girls, I love Alex Rider, those kinds of stuff are fantastic. And this was so cool. The first thing I want to talk about is the general style of the movie. It is very sort of comic book, action movie blend with a little bit of like video game fighting thrown in. It's so different from anything else I've ever seen, other than, I mean, the only thing I can actually think to compare it to is another one of the director Matthew Vaughn's projects, and that's Kick-Ass. I was looking through the IMDb page on the trivia for this movie, and one of the things that they talked about was the fact that they wanted this movie to be, for spy movies, what Kick-Ass is to superhero movies. Sort of a love letter to the genre and also poking fun at it a bit, and just a really sort of fun new look at the genre, and I definitely think this accomplished that. Whenever there were fight sequences, the fighting style was this really cool, almost video game comic book blend of kind of looking at the fight. There were a lot of really cool angles and a lot of really cool shots and really interesting creative fighting technique that I thought was really, really cool. Warning, there is quite a bit of gore and blood and guts and violence in this movie, but it's a really interesting blend of just straight up violence and, again, sort of a comic book kind of humorous violence that's used for comedic effect. You know, people's heads blowing up with fireworks kind of thing. And I thought it worked really well. I thought it was really interesting and unique and just cool to watch. And it honestly made the movie really funny. Some parts that should have been absolutely horrifying and were pretty horrifying were also strangely hilarious. And I thought it worked so well. Another thing I wanted to talk about is the character of Gazelle. So Gazelle is a character that, from what I hear, via the IMDb trivia page for Kingsman, was in the original comic book that this is based loosely, very loosely based on. Only like 3 characters were actually used from the comic book, and Gazelle is one of them. But Gazelle was turned into a girl for the movie, which, appreciate that. Always loved seeing more kick-ass female characters. And Gazelle is a really cool character because she is disabled. She has both of her legs amputated around the knee area, and she is still probably one of the most kick-ass characters in the film. She doesn't use any weapons other than her prosthetics, which are in the sort of style of the prosthetics that athletes use, the ones that are sort of curved and bouncy and used for running. But hers have razor blades in them. that like slide out and she can like chop people's heads off, and it's so cool. So if you're looking for a character who is disabled and still pretty kick-ass, just some good representation there. Now, one thing that I think is really cool about this movie is the fact that fashion plays a weirdly big role in it. It's a kick-ass spy movie that has its own fashion line. I'm pretty sure that they created a line of clothing for the movie, like inspired by the movie, that you can buy. If I can find it, I'll put a link in the doobly-doo. But I just think that's so cool, because it's this spy movie with a fashion line. That seems like a weird thing, but it definitely sort of is one of the themes of the movie, being sort of a gentleman, and I do think that the fashion plays a pretty big role in that, which seems like a weird thing to see in a spy movie, but it fits in really well. And if you like seeing well-dressed people kicking ass, it's the movie for you. Whether you prefer seeing people like Colin Firth in nice fitting suits kicking ass, or people who are more like 20-ish and male or female wearing nice suits and kicking ass, you know? It's there. It's awesome. This movie also does a really cool thing in which a couple of times it references sort of the old James Bond movies, and it almost sort of feels like they're sort of tapping on the fourth wall, and it's really cool. It feels very self-aware at times. It talks about, you know, sort of the things that inspire the actions that the characters are doing that are inspired by the old Bond movies, and just there are a lot of jokes based on the old Bond movies. So I personally haven't seen many of them, or any of them. I should get on that. But I think that if you have seen a lot of the old Bond movies, then there will definitely be a lot of Easter eggs in there for you to enjoy. Now, this movie is rated R in America, and for a good reason. As I mentioned, there is quite a bit of gratuitous violence, and there's also quite a bit of swearing. I think they pass the allotted usage of F-bombs in a PG-13 movie in like the first 10 minutes. By the way, that number that you're allowed to use in the PG-13 movie is 1. You can have 1 F-bomb in a PG-13 movie. There's like 70, 100, there's a lot in this one. People swear a lot in this movie. So if lots of violence or lots of swearing makes you uncomfortable, maybe pass on this one. But I think if you want something that's funny and a little violent, maybe a little rude at times, but is just action-packed and absolutely hilarious, I would definitely recommend this movie. It's so much fun. I loved it. I would give it, 5 stars out of 5 stars, or whatever rating people use for movies. But I definitely recommend this movie. I do think it's maybe not for everyone, because it is sort of a certain type of violent humor, I guess. And so if you know that's not your thing, maybe pass on this one. But personally, I loved it, and I definitely am excited that while I was scrolling through the IMDb trivia page, they mentioned that they're gonna try and make this a franchise, and I'm super excited to see more movies because I absolutely loved this first one. Alright, so that's it from me. If you guys see this movie, let me know what you thought in the comments below. I love you, and I will see you later. Bye!